OpenAI recently released a feature that might be the end of vibe coding tools like Replit, Lovable, Emergent, and more. This thing allows you to create a website directly from your Codex instance. And interestingly, this uses Cloudflare as a stack. Now, is this really the end of vibe coding tools? And what is different for you as a developer? Let's find out in this video. So let's take a look at what OpenAI has released, which is the Sites feature, which apparently seems to be a vibe coding killer feature. This is available inside Codex, and this can turn your work, ideas, and plans into an interactive website or app that your team can explore, use, and share with a URL, which looks and works exactly like how you would expect a vibe coding website platform to look and feel like. Now, this is sort of like a part of a broader release that OpenAI has done today, which is Codex for every role, tool, and workflow, where they have released this new role-specific plugins, Sites, which is the update that we are actually looking at, and annotations to help teams do more with Codex. So they say that more than 5 million people now use Codex every week. That means they have 5 million weekly active users, which is, in a grand scheme of things, not a lot of people if you compare it to products like ChatGPT, for example, which has north of 1 billion monthly active users now, almost that. So Codex is still far behind ChatGPT in terms of usage. But Codex started as a tool for software development, but it's increasingly useful for more kinds of work. Non-developers, including analysts, marketers, operators, designers, researchers, investors, and bankers, make up about 20% of overall Codex users. So that's a lot of roles. Actually, if you think about it, all these roles, non-developer roles, compared to developer ones, which I'm assuming is north of like 50 to 80% of the remaining, like whatever is left, right? And are growing more than 3 times as fast as developers. Today, we are introducing new ways to do more of your work with Codex, plugins that adapt Codex to your role and tools, annotations that help you refine the result in place, and a preview of the ability to create interactive websites and apps you can share with your workspace using a URL. So see, I keep coming back to this way of explaining things, that one thing is an AI model, which is your actual true raw intelligence that is available. And the second thing is the AI harness. Now, the problem that has happened is that a lot of these frontier labs like OpenAI, Anthropic have more or less realized that this over here is not a moat anymore. So this is something that can be copied or duplicated either by other AI labs or by open source, open weight models rather, in a matter of few months, if not a few weeks. So this is no longer something that will keep renewing the subscriptions. You might buy, yes, you might buy a $20 a month plan or a $200 a month plan, but you are not going to renew it if the only thing that you have to do is change the model from Anthropic Opus 4.8 to something like GPT 5.5, 5.6 or whatever, right? Any new model that's coming out. And the problem is that everyone in the open source mostly is working towards making this as seamless as possible, right? This thing that we are talking about, this transition over here. And of course, companies like OpenAI and Anthropic don't really want that. That's why they are locking you into AI harnesses, which is basically a way for making this raw intelligence much more useful outside of just chat use cases, right? When you have an AI harness, then you can have, these things. For example, they just released the Sites, right? The Sites feature. Then you have, remote control, which personally I really like from Claude, where you can sort of like control Claude code from your mobile phone as well, which is running on your desktop. Then you have, Codex desktop app itself, the UX of that, all of that part, right? And a bunch of more things, like whatever comes in the future. For example, Claude design, I'll also probably put in this category itself. And it's sort of like an AI harness. There is nothing like they're not using any new models or anything which is fixing a problem in a very unique or novel way, but it's just the way the AI harness has been created, right? So that is the whole idea with this plugins and all as well, that you are creating this different sort of harness for different people, and you're creating sort of like preset environments for people which would work best. And this is just a startup killer, right? There are a lot of companies which are actually building their companies on top of GPT models, wrappers basically, right? That's what we call these companies. But now the fancy name is harnesses. So a lot of AI, third-party AI harnesses that exist today would actually be in trouble as OpenAI and as Anthropic releases more and more features inside their own products. So let's take a look at this launch video that they have. So they say with Codex, now you can build and share web apps, right? So it's as simple as that. We're going to get into how exactly this works as well. But the first thing that I'm seeing is this is sort of like a plugin that you have to mention it in order to deploy it. It's not like doing it on its own. So it's using this the sites workflow for this and first inspect the workspace so I can see whether there's already a site scaffold or a hosting config. But anyway, once that is done, it just creates the website for you or whatever application that you want. But it also has some access controls built inside, right? So instead of, this is actually neat, right? That instead of the website being generally accessible, you can set permissions just like we do with Google Docs. You also can see a couple of things here. ChatGPT.site. I'm assuming that this is a real domain that they have bought. Let's actually try to open this. Yeah, so if you open revenue-dashboard.chatgpt.site, this is what we get. And the website is too new, right? So there is no subdomain as such that is visible on Google for now. It's not indexed. But if we look under this, under the hood, we're going to see a couple of things. First of all, that the end server is in fact Cloudflare. I don't think there is anything else behind this. So this is just Cloudflare as the origin, not just a proxy, which is expected because I also saw a post from them. But you can also see that there is an assets folder .chatgpt.site, which is again Cloudflare, but this looks like an R1 bucket, right? So assets.chatgpt.site, which is an actual asset website, I'm assuming like a CDN for them. They are using Cloudflare. So OpenAI has went with Cloudflare as a technology stack for this. Now, before we move further with the sites project, one thing you can clearly see is that this is very useful if you want to wipe code internal applications. But a lot of times that is not something that you want to do. You want the reliability of your existing workflows, design systems, even the way you create backend APIs and you talk to your database. And that is where today's sponsor Wavemaker comes into play. Wavemaker is an AI platform that allows you to create full stack applications end to end, whether those are internal enterprise applications or even consumer facing products used by millions of people. And unlike your typical vibe coding tools, applications built through Wavemaker are deterministic. You can add guardrails to the applications that you are building. And of course, the code output and the design is in the way that is extendable to your existing systems. This is a perfect platform if you are a team of developers or an enterprise company that is looking to introduce AI into your business. Let me quickly show you how. Wavemaker is also used by some of the biggest enterprises in the world, including Accenture and many of the leading US companies. So when you work with Wavemaker, you are in good hands. I'm going to log into Wavemaker AI platform. Once you log in, you will have the option to create an application, which is basically a way for you to onboard an application to Wavemaker. Now, there are a couple of ways to go about that. First is that if you have a Figma design, you can import that, or you can start blank as well. Let's say I have this Figma file for a banking application, and I want to bring this to Wavemaker. So I'll just install the plugin, open it, and select the individual pages that I want to transfer. Let's just go only with login for now and run the plugin. Now, as you can see, it takes me back to the onboarding agent, which is now using AI plus importing it from Figma to create code which is high quality, deterministic, and has built-in guardrails and component systems that you can customize from Wavemaker. And as you can see, within a few seconds, Wavemaker gave me this canvas area where I can further design it either using drag and drop, or I can jump into AI mode, which is going to allow me to customize this further, even create front ends and back ends using AI. So this AI can do a bunch of things on your behalf, but in the same controlled manner like any other human developer would do. There is a lot more that you can do with Wavemaker, including connecting databases, building Java services, or even doing full version control system from within the platform itself, even doing one-click deployments as well. I have links in description which will help you understand much more about Wavemaker's features and get you started easily within the next few minutes. So if this sounds interesting to you, do check them out. All the links are in the description. Once again, thanks to Wavemaker for sponsoring this part of the video. And now back to the video. One thing that is there with the sites feature is that it's right now in preview and only available to business and enterprise workspaces. So I do have a pro plan, but not the business and enterprise workspace plan. So I can't show you this, how this works. But we know a few things. For example, this is a plugin, first of all. Just like I mentioned, you have to invoke this by mentioning it. And it's basically making a deployment for everything else that Codex is doing in the first place. So you will have a UI like this, which is sort of like a dedicated UI for showing all the draft sites that you have. And you can share the access depending on how you want it. So it's not, I don't feel like this is meant to be something that you take live to public right now. This is more suitable for internal experiments, prototypes use case because of the domain, because of the nature of, the sharing thing, like you are supposed to give access to people. So this is more suitable for internal use cases for businesses and enterprises. And that is the reason also like why they have decided to roll that out first. instead of like opening it generally to pro plan as well, where the idea would be more towards sharing it to broader public. And if you look at their blog copy, you can see that they also mention D1 and R2 continuously, which are Cloudflare service. D1 is a relational SQLite database on Cloudflare, and R2 is an object storage, right? So clearly, OpenAI has taken a bet to go forward with Cloudflare dedicatedly as a backend for this, which I won't lie is not a bad choice among, everything that is possible. The only other option that I feel could have been that they just build their own infrastructure, right? Something like a D1 and R2 internally. But I mean, it'll be again like too much for them to do everything, right? They're already doing model, they're doing harness now, they're doing the infrastructure around it. They are even doing real time with WebSockets and real time voice models. I feel it's just too much, right? And it feels like a smart choice that they are just delegating the hosting infrastructure to somebody who's much more experienced in the space. Inside the blog post here, they do mention this one thing where they say that we are also working with early partners, including Vercel, Wix, Base44, Replit, Lovable, Figma, Webflow, and Emergent, as we build towards a site's partner ecosystem. So I'm assuming that maybe in future, they would give users the ability to select a deployment target. So you can choose to deploy on Vercel or Wix or Base44 within Codex instead of the default Cloudflare thing that I think that they're going for. But if they're configuring Cloudflare as a default thing, chances are that you, or at least like most people, would not touch those defaults. And to be very honest, if you look at platforms like Replit, Lovable, and even Emergent, if Cloudflare is a default target for most applications built inside Codex, there is not a lot that these other platforms like the vibe coding platforms are adding on top of Codex, which is already a great harness, plus hosting, which is done again like by one of the best, which is Cloudflare. So this is actually a strange time for these platforms. I don't know about Webflow. I have not used Webflow much, but I know like it's a super powerful tool. And of course, like Figma and all. So I'm not, and even Vercel, right? These are like production platforms. They know they have solved infrastructure and they know like how to serve, hundreds of thousands of people concurrently. So their money is not coming from $10, $15, $20 per month subscriptions. Their money is coming from enterprise contracts, which are like tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars per year. So they would not be very affected by a tool like this. But yes, for Emergent, for Replit, for Lovable, I'm not so sure. And I mean, naturally, of course, it feels like that if your users are using your AI a lot, it makes sense to monetize it in two layers. First is, of course, the model, which is, the tokens, the raw tokens you're paying for. Second would be the harness features, right? And this is where I believe that the enterprise money is coming from, where you're selling seat-based access or feature-based access or whatever. And third angle that I'm seeing now sort of getting unfold is the hosting angle, right? Which surprisingly OpenAI is also now jumping into. Now, they are not obviously charging for hosting right now, but I won't be surprised if they include sort of like number of sites that you can have in a given plan. For example, if you have pro plan, you can just have 50 sites. If you have a business enterprise plan, you can have like custom number of sites and so on, like internal projects basically. Because for hosting wise, it's going to cost them money on the storage part. And of course, it's going to cost them for things like database. For example, the R2 and D1 collaboration that they have done with Cloudflare. Until and unless, of course, they don't just ask you to link your own Cloudflare accounts. In that case, then there is that Stripe project, right? Projects.dev. So, I mean, a lot of things are happening in the AI world, and it seems like everyone is trying to solve problems in their own way. And there is a lot of fragmentation in the way people are doing things. So there is a lot to learn, but there's also a lot of time to form opinions on what is right, what is not right, and just do things that feel right to you in the first place. So that's all for this video. Do let me know in the comments what do you think about this new initiative from OpenAI, and let me know if you plan to use something like this over any vibe coding website or any tool that you have already used. So that's all for this video. Hopefully you liked it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna see you in the next video very soon. If you're still watching, make sure you leave a comment "I watched till the end" below to tell me that you were still here, and let me know what do you think about the video.